Chelsea 4, AC Milan 1. That centre-back situation starting to look a little bit worrying though, isn't it? Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sink, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And for a short pre-season, very promising, right? Obviously, because of the Club World Cup, our pre-season has been cut short. There were lots of changes and stuff, don't get me wrong, but we put out a really strong first 11 today. It was a bit of a crazy game. The first 8 minutes in particular were a bit nuts. But there were lots of promising things and promising signs and things to talk about. But before we get into it, guys, if you are enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video. Subscribe to the channel because I'm on that race to 1,000 and I can taste it, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. But right, let's get into it. So we put out a really strong starting lineup today, and very possible that this is exactly, if not very, very close to the starting lineup that we'll see against Crystal Palace in the opening Premier League game. We started with Robert Sanchez in goal, a defence made up of Rhys James, Tosin Adarabioyo, Trevor Chalobah and Marc Cucurella, a midfield of Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, an attacking three of Cole Palmer in the middle, Pedro Neto on the right and Jamie Gittins getting his first start on the left, and Joao Pedro started up top. So, let's just talk about the first 8 minutes, man. Andre Kubis maybe had one of the worst ever opening 10 minutes that any centre-back has ever had in football. Within the first 5 minutes, he conceded an own goal. Rhys James took a free kick, and it was excellent. We're going to talk a bit about Rhys James today because, man, this guy is just looking world-class. But, yeah, ultimately, Rhys James, free kick, looks absolutely amazing, like it's going to go to one of our players, misses kind of everyone, and just bounces off the foot of Andre Kubis into the goal. So within 5 minutes, Chelsea are 1-0 up. 3 minutes, we're on the score sheet again with a sumptuous cross from Pedro Neto straight to the head of Joao Pedro. And, look, oh, man, there's just so much to talk about, do you know what I mean? But Joao Pedro, that's 5 goals in 5 games, man. That's literally matched his open play goal tally for the Premier League last season in its entirety and half of his total tally already. So it just looks like with these kind of players around him, Joao Pedro had a lot more, do you know what I mean, to offer than he was even able to. This guy looks unbelievable. I was watching a little bit of the GBFC, George Benson's live stream. He was on with Josh Invest and they were talking about odds and stuff, right? Joao Pedro is 16-1 to be the top scorer in the Premier League next season. That's just nuts, isn't it? But yeah, man, Joao Pedro, he's just looking absolutely phenomenal. He's such a versatile striker, and getting it on his head like he did today, that's just another excellent sign, isn't it? Because that's another thing that he can do. That was a real striker's goal today. Do you know what I mean? What we've seen from Joao Pedro a lot so far is dropping deep and facilitating play and drifting wide and linking up and long-range goals and, do you know what I mean? Really lots of that kind of stuff. But what we saw today was just a simple one-head touch finish, and it was great, man. It was great. And also, Pedro Neto, man, I know we're all excited about Willian, but this is what I'm saying. I am so psyched to go into the start of this season with Pedro Neto being that right winger. Do you know what I mean? Because he just looks wicked, man. He is definitely leveled up sort of since the Club World Cup. Do you know what I mean? He scored 3 goals in the Club World Cup and he just looks miles ahead of Madueke now. When you think that at one point it was a choice between Madueke and Pedro Neto and both of them were getting in and around the same kind of game time, Pedro Neto has just come on in droves and absolutely looks like he locks down that spot. Really different type of player to Willian as well. Definitely of a more wingery winger. That one's for you, Blue Lounge. I know you like that. But yeah, man, first half, just really, really good. Obviously, we didn't score any more goals after that, so that was a bit nuts, do you know what I mean, the first 8 minutes. And then in the 17th minute, this is kind of a double-edged sword, right? So Kubis gets sent off for a really, really rash challenge on Joao Pedro. The commentators were saying, maybe that was a bit unfair because it is a preseason game. In a competitive game, that's 100% a red card. He got the red card anyway, and he's off. So that works in a few different ways, doesn't it? Like in terms of just the game in isolation, to win the game, yeah, wicked. It's, you know, kind of, you always want that opportunity to have some sort of advantage over the other team, don't you? But bearing in mind it was a preseason game and we were trying to test our like first 11 for, you know, the opening game of the Premier League, it actually would have been better for him not to have been sent off, because you want to play against 11 players when you're trying stuff out and when you're trying to get form, and do you know what I mean? So it's a bit of a weird one, that. I think that ultimately, yes, wicked, you know, if that happens against a Man City or a Liverpool or, you know, in a big competitive game where there's points on the line, like absolutely always you want that to be a red card. But just for today, because it didn't have to be a red card, it was almost a little bit disappointing that it was for me personally, because like I say, I think we would have won this game anyway. We were 2-0 up by the time this happened. But you want to go in to these games going against a full strength team and really test yourself. Do you know what I mean? Speaking of, you know, sort of going into the game with full strength, AC Milan were absolutely treating this game like a proper game. They were a little bit like the Leverkusen game. They were getting a bit rough and ready in that first kind of 20 minutes, man. Maybe it was just Andre Kubis. And do you know what was really interesting? After Andre Kubis got sent off, they actually looked better, like 100% fair play to AC Milan. After Kubis got sent off, they all of a sudden were just much harder to play against. You know, they changed their shape a little bit and obviously were probably a bit less attacking than they would like to have been, but they were still sort of making opportunities every now and again, not so much in the first half, but in the second half, they really, really came out of it. Do you know what I mean? So the second half was slightly duller at the start, but then when all of the subs came on, things really, really started to heat up. Obviously, we got another 2 goals, both courtesy of Liam Delap, with a penalty provided to him by Willian. So even though Willian didn't score today, he had another impact, which is wicked. And the last goal he got was a great little assist from Andre Santos, and it was a proper poachers goal. Do you know what I mean? Really, really nice. So yeah, lots of really good stuff. And it was just one of those, man. The first half, I feel like the first half was more enjoyable to watch for most of it. The second half started a bit duller, but then really started picking up when all of the subs came on and, you know, fresh legs and this and that and the other. Just a couple of things to point out that are, you know, not necessarily related to the game. It was great to see Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Fikayo Tomori. I thought it was very interesting that we were looking at some old Chelsea DNA versus our present and future. Do you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, it shows you, like, I remember a time when I was like, what's going on with Tomori, man? I remember he stopped playing under Frank Lampard, didn't he? And then all of a sudden just kind of agitated for this move, and he'd been playing really well for us up until that point. So I remember thinking, Tomori, you know, we would have been great to keep him around. Ruben Loftus-Cheek was another one. I loved Ruben Loftus-Cheek, man. I absolutely love Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and it was a real stinger that we, you know, never got to see him become his best self in a Chelsea shirt. But he was just another one of those players that we have had so many of that just couldn't stay on the pitch, man. He just got injured all the time, and his stretches were always really, really lengthy. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's good to see Ruben Loftus-Cheek, especially. He's not been getting injured and spending, like, you know, he's played a lot for AC Milan. He played up front for them. They play like a 3-5-2. Ruben Loftus-Cheek is part of that front too, but he spends a lot more time dropping deep like a 10. Do you know what I mean? So he's got a bit of a fluid role. Didn't really do much though, truth be told, Ruben Loftus-Cheek. So it's just another one, isn't it? Looking at our past compared to our present and future, lots of the right decisions have been made, because I'm a lot more excited about a lot of the players in our team right now than I was when Ruben Loftus-Cheek was kind of in a Chelsea shirt and in and around, you know what I mean? Another couple of things to point out. Enzo Fernandez and Cole Palmer's link-up looks really good. Cole Palmer will be gutted not to have scored today because he had a lot of really excellent looking opportunities. And I just want to talk about Cole Palmer for a minute in general, because what I saw today, although he didn't get anything away, he looked the good kind of frustrated. You know what I mean? He was trying audacious stuff, man. Really, really audacious stuff. He took 2 free kicks and they both hit the bar. He tried this volley, like this left-footed volley that was from Enzo Fernandez from deep that looked really, really nice. And he's looking the kind of frustrated, not that like... That's different, do you know what I mean? Because he wasn't even looking frustrated. He was just looking dejected for a while, do you know what I mean? But he's got this bit of fire and this bit of anger and a bit of a smirk on his face every now and again. And that's the Cole Palmer that we want to see. So that's really promising in itself. Cole Palmer played amazing today, do you know what I mean? He was kind of taken off, one of the first to be taken off, obviously, apart from Trevor Chalobah for the injury. We'll get into that in a little bit. But Cole Palmer's looking really, really good again. And even though he hasn't been able to make loads of things happen, he looks like he's starting to get close to it. And in particular, he looks like he's looking to master long-range free kicks. And if he can do that, he's scored 1 for us so far. If he can score 3 or 4 long-range free kicks for us next season, that could be a game changer, couldn't it? So what we'll do now is we'll get into player performances and just kind of go through everyone and how they did. So starting with Robert Sanchez. Gotta say it, man. Fair play. Robert Sanchez didn't do anything today at all that made me go, oh, which is kind of the thing with Robert Sanchez, isn't it? Those anxiety-driven moments from Robert Sanchez, like, make your heart drop, and we had so many of them last season. I did a comparison video between him and Edison a little while ago just to look at what kind of keeper we want. I say we want. Maresca probably wants Robert Sanchez to turn into, and the biggest thing is errors, right? Especially errors leading to goals. He makes so many errors and errors leading to goals, but since since the Club World Cup final especially, well, and a little bit during the Club World Cup, those seem to be getting less and less and less often. And he looked really assured today. He made some good saves. One thing in particular, he had like a goal kick, but instead of just like launching it long, he seemed to make a really targeted effort to try and get on to Joao Pedro. And that's where the sending off came from. Do you know what I mean? And it was a very Edison-like kind of long kick straight through to the striker. And if that's something that they can develop, you know, Joao Pedro is 100% the kind of player that can run onto that type of ball. Robert Sanchez can get more confident in launching those kind of balls, then he might even get a couple of assists next season. Do you know what I mean? So all over, all round, good from Robert Sanchez. I'm fit, and you know, Maignan obviously was playing for AC Milan today. He was the keeper that, you know, we were potentially looking at replacing Sanchez with. And at the end of the day, we didn't see anything from Maignan that said absolutely we should have gone in and gone for him, because at the moment, at least, Robert Sanchez is looking like he's starting to level up a bit. So fair play, Robert Sanchez. Right, Rhys James, man. Rhys James had a phenomenal game. This guy, mate, this guy is just so good. Absolute clutch last minute tackles. His touch is magic as well. He can just bring a ball down and make it look like it's absolutely nothing. Rhys James definitely not getting so up as he was kind of in the first half of last season, you know, with that inverted midfield role. He's still doing a little bit of it, but he's mainly being on that, you know, right side of the back three. Kukurea is definitely the one getting into the midfield at the moment. But man, Rhys James, just every time he touches the ball at the moment, it just looks like something awesome is going to happen. Do you know what I mean? Rhys James, I think this is probably a good position for him to keep up with, bearing in mind that, you know, hopefully he's over the worst of all of his injury stuff now. But if he isn't over all of his injury stuff, then 100%, you know, it'd be really, really good for Rhys James to play this more defensive role rather than the midfieldy one, or like a byline wing backy kind of role, you know, to protect his legs and his hamstrings and stuff. But yeah, man, Rhys James absolutely solid today, wicked. And you know what I mean, it's, you know, he seems to be growing into that captain role as well. He looks assured. He's just turning into a world-class player, man. And if he keeps going at this rate, I'm almost 100% sure we're going to see him in the England team for the World Cup. Right, so centre backs, Tosin Adarabioyo and Trevor Chalobah. Now, based on the situation we're currently in, they look like they would be the two starting centre-backs for the Premier League season, right? Because they are definitely our two strongest at the moment. They've had the most game time between the two of them over the last season as well. Haven't spent a lot of time playing together because Levi Cole has obviously been playing so much, but both of them looking really good, man. Tosin Adarabioyo is Uncle Tosin, the 27-year-old man, you know, keeping all the kids in check. He's obviously really important to have around just because of that level of experience. Trevor Chalobah is a solid defender, and it is a real shame that Chalobah got injured again today. I'm not going to spend too long on this because I haven't seen yet what the ramifications of this injury might be, but he seemed to have an issue with his ankle and was not able to come back onto the pitch. So he was at like 50 odd minutes, something like that, replaced by Josh Achiempong. If Trevor Chalobah is out for 3 weeks, which is, you know, maybe an ankle injury can put you out for up to a month, do you know what I mean? We'll definitely go in and buy someone. It's just so difficult with the centre-backs, isn't it? Because, you know, in a few weeks or whatever, we're going to have Benoit Badiashile and we're going to have Wesley Fofana to be able to bring on. But the issue that we're looking at is yes, we've got lots of centre-backs that can come in and do a job, but most of them are coming off the back of long injuries or are injury-prone in general, isn't it? So it's not ideal to think, okay, yeah, cool, we've got 4 centre-backs, but, you know, 2 or 3 of them are quite prone to injury. So I guess maybe that's what Maresca's thinking is when he was talking about, oh, no, I definitely want to go in for another centre-back. So, yeah, it's a shame, man. Obviously, we've got some little bit of time before the Crystal Palace game now. Hopefully Trevor Chalobah is okay, and this is something where he might have been all right by the end of the game. It was 100% the right thing to do to take him off as a precaution if he felt like he couldn't go on. Let's just hope that we don't get another bomb in that Trevor Chalobah can't play for the next month or whatever, but if we do, then we'll definitely be going in for someone else, 100%. So, Marc Cucurella, right? Marc Cucurella on that left-hand side of the defence, and it wasn't really that. He was kind of playing as a number 6 today, do you know what I mean? He 100% was the midfield inverting option. The back three was Chalobah on the left, Adarabioyo in the middle, and Rhys James on the right. Marc Cucurella is, you know, I haven't really got anything new to say about Marc Cucurella. He just is becoming an 8 out of 10 every game. Do you know what I mean? For me, it's the new Azpilicueta. I've kind of dubbed him as the new Azpilicueta. He doesn't always make things happen, although he did score 7 goals last season, which is amazing for a fullback, by the way. But at the end of the day, Mark Cucurella is one of the best left-backs in the world, and he played like it again today. So, wicked. Midfield's really interesting. So, I've talked a little bit about Enzo Fernandez already. I like him in that slightly deeper role because I think he looks like he can make more happen from there. And now we've got so many forward attacking talents. Do you know what I mean? The likes of Esteval, there's more news about Xavi Simons potentially going to be coming in as well. I don't expect to see so much of Enzo Fernandez in that kind of more advanced midfield role. I do expect to see him definitely doing a bit more like what he was doing today and sitting a little bit deeper, playing long balls, trying to make things happen. And he was doing that in droves, man. Do you know what I mean? He didn't have a phenomenal game, do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, he was very close to making things happen a few times. And you know, he looked a bit inconsistent for the first 6 months or, you know, to 12 months that we had him, but he's definitely just grown into being an absolutely quality player, and I really like Enzo Fernandez. Good to have him around. Moises Caicedo, mate, let's talk about Moises Caicedo. Moises Fabregas, mate, these passes, man, he is literally one of the best defensive midfielders in the Prem, and, you know, the argument last season a lot of the time was, is it Caicedo or is it Gravenberch? And he's not just doing that now. He's adding these, like, obviously in the game against Leverkusen, he, like, tried a really long-range shot. And today, like, these passes and stuff, these dippy over-the-top passes, and he's just got all of this stuff in his locker, and he's still, like, 23 years old, do you know what I mean? So there's time for it to develop. Moises Caicedo is going to turn into a world beater if he keeps this up, man. If he can unlock a little bit more of this creative attacking ability that he seems to kind of try every now and again, and if that can become something more consistent that we can start to rely on, mate, we've got a real player on our hands, man. We all know already what a good player Moises Caicedo is, but he just keeps on looking like he's trying to add these things to his game, and he looks absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, wicked. Moises Caicedo, brilliant performance from him. So the attacking three, we'll start with Cole Palmer. I talked about him a little bit already. Really happy that he's looking good in himself again. It's not even just about how he's playing, do you know what I mean? It's like the little smirks, the smiles, the fire, the right kind of, you know, being irritated at himself when he misses something or something doesn't come off. That shows you that he really wants it, and he's not looking dejected or, you know, down about it anymore. He's looking like, right, I'm ready to go. Cole Palmer tried loads of amazing stuff today. Nearly scored an unbelievable volley, 2 free kicks off of the woodwork, and, you know, really good long balls in from the left and the right and stuff. And yeah, absolutely. You know, we saw in the last game his link up with Esteval looks a little bit telepathic, which is going to be really interesting. And yeah, Cole Palmer's just looking like he's going to get back to his best soon. So wicked, really happy about that. Right wing, Neto, again, just solid, man. Just absolutely solid. Like, you know, he's turning into that 7 out of 10 every game as well, isn't he? And I like it as well. Like I just said about Cole Palmer, you're starting to see it with Neto. He's starting to be like getting annoyed when he's missing shots and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, beautiful little cross for Joao Pedro's headed goal. Absolutely love that. We need to see more of that because we don't often score from crosses, and that's normally like when they're being put in sideways. Do you know what I mean? But it was a diagonal cross, kind of more into the middle today, went over the top of everyone and literally landed straight on the head of Joao Pedro. Awesome. Absolutely love that. Jamie Gittins obviously had a very good cameo when he played for like half an hour in the last game. But lest we forget, Mykhailo Mudryk looked like a world beater against Liverpool in that first game, didn't he? But that is not to denigrate the performance of Jamie Gittins at all. I think he was a little bit wasteful today and maybe trying a bit hard. Maybe he's hearing that, you know, we've got all this, you know, talk about Garnacho, and he's like, oh, I need to show him what I can do or whatever. I'm sure he'll settle into the team soon. But you can see what his strengths are. He's so good at taking on his man. Maybe a little bit too tricky sometimes, and, you know, a lot of the time it's just better to keep it simple, isn't it? But yeah, you know, a couple of maybe moments from Jamie Gittins today. I think it's just going to take more games. Do you know what I mean? I think it's just going to take a few more games to get him to settle in. At the moment, he's 100% our starting option on the left wing, and I'm totally happy with that. He looks like when he settles in a bit more, he can, you know, and similar to Liam Delap, like look at what Liam Delap's starting to look like as well. It took him a little while to get there. I feel like the same with Jamie Gittins. He really does remind me of Noni Madueke, but on the other side, you know what I mean? It's really interesting, actually. But yeah, so Jamie Gittins, like I say, maybe a little bit wasteful today, maybe tried a little bit too hard, but ultimately looking good, man, and is very promising. You know, he didn't do anything wrong. And, you know, I definitely am more excited to see him going forward than I was Mykhailo Mudryk or Jadon Sancho. And up top, we had Joao Pedro, and that's 5 goals in 5 games, man. Mate, this guy can do anything. Again, I've already talked about it a little bit. 16-1 to be Premier League's top scorer next season. I don't know, man. If Liverpool get Alexander Isak or a resurgent Man City, start finding Haaland a bit more, that is obviously a tall order. But it is already looking like, so if you, obviously this isn't going to happen, probably not going to happen, but at the end of the day, he scored 5 goals in 5 games. So half of that, if that's what he manages next season, is 20 goals, in the Premier League. So we might be looking at our first 20 goal in a season striker in the Prem for quite a while. Do you know what I mean? And even if it's not in the Prem, I think it's reasonable to assume that Joao Pedro might get 20 goals across all competitions next season. And that I did a collab with an Arsenal fan a little while ago, and one of the things we did was a combined 11. I'll be releasing that in the next couple of weeks. And spoiler here, I made the bold claim at the end of that video that I think that Joao Pedro is going to score more goals than Victor Gyökeres next season. And you know what? I stand by it. Come at me if you disagree with me. But just based on what we're seeing already, Joao Pedro looks like the real deal, man. And I'm very, very excited for him. Right, so what started to happen around the 60th minute is the sub started coming in, right? We saw Delap, Esteval, Santos and Gusto. Delap up top, Esteval came on for Cole Palmer in the middle, Santos came on for Enzo Fernandez, and Malagusto came on for Rhys James. So let's talk about Liam Delap a little bit, man. Liam Delap is, a different kind of striker to Joao Pedro. And even in the goals that he scored today, do you know what I mean? You can kind of see what that is. Obviously, one of them was a penalty that was won by Esteval Willian, which was, great from both of them. He took, in terms of that penalty, he took it really confidently. The keeper went the right way and it still went in. And his celebration afterwards shows you how much it meant to him. He is a bit of a bully and I like that. Do you know what I mean? That Diego Costa style, he's got a little touch of the Diego Costas about him. As soon as he came on the pitch, he was running at people and looking to make a nuisance of himself and stuff in a really different kind of way to Joao Pedro. So I think it's going to be great to have a player like Liam Delap on board. Do you know what I mean? He is not going to want to sit there and watch Joao Pedro score all these goals. He's absolutely going to be looking at Joao Pedro at the moment and be like, okay, he scored 5 goals in 5 games and I've scored 3 in 5 or 6 or whatever it is. So, even just by the small sample size we've got from both of them at the moment, Liam Delap must be looking at Joao Pedro being like, right, that's my target. That's what I've got to do. I've just got to be better than the guy on my team. I don't know how possible that is. Obviously, he's a very different type of player, but you can see how when obviously Joao Pedro got his goal right at the start of the game, but kind of struggled a little bit after that. When Liam Delap came on, he seemed like to be that slightly better option for a slightly stodgier looking AC Milan team, right? So that is what I think his role is going to be next season. Not just to come on. I think that if we're expecting a low block, or if we've been experiencing a low block and Joao Pedro hasn't quite got it, that's going to be Delap's moment. And the more he can score, the more he's going to try and push Joao Pedro out of that starting lineup and get himself in. Really good stuff from Liam Delap today. Took the penalty really, really well. His last goal scored lovely assist from Andre Santos as well. Took it really, really, really well. And they were both goals that speak to the kind of striker that he is. So I am not as excited about Liam Delap as I am about Joao Pedro, because Joao Pedro looks like he could turn into a world beater. But Delap looks like he is going to be hot on his heels, and I like the fire that I've seen from him so far. Esteval Willian, not obviously quite as bouncy and magical as he was in the game against Leverkusen the other day, but at the end of the day, he's still looking really good. He is making a nuisance of himself. He is becoming another player that teams are going to be like, right, we need to watch out for that guy. And that's great, because then all of a sudden, your Joao Pedros and your Cole Palmers and your Liam Delaps, they've got a little bit more space than they did before. Do you know what I mean? When there's those kind of mercurial, magical talents, and when you've got so many of those, there's only so many you can focus on as a defence at the same time. Esteval Willian drew the foul for Liam Delap's penalty. Liam Delap actually put in a wicked cross for that as well. But yeah, no, it's 2 games. He's 18 years old. He got a half-hour kind of run out today, and he just looks really good, man. Do you know what I mean? I think we're all pretty excited for Esteval Willian, aren't we? Andre Santos, Good. Again, kind of like I said in the last game, maybe a 6 out of 10 right up until the last minute when he got that lovely, lovely assist for Liam Delap's goal. So that shows you that that's the kind of player that he can be. He can go about and do his job quietly, and he's not making loads of mistakes, and he's playing well, and every now and again he looks like he can do something special like that as well. So again, he's really young. He's only just joined the team. This is another player that is going to take time to grow into it, right? And Gusto, I'm starting to like the look of Gusto a little bit more. There was a lot of questions about Gusto for a little while. Bayern Munich were credited with having interested him and stuff, and it was like, oh, okay, is it worth kind of selling him to make the money and kind of promote Josh Achiempong to play that role a little bit more? But since the Club World Cup, something seems to have clicked for quite a lot of players in the Club World Cup. Malagusto, and this is going to be obviously to do with instruction from Maresca as well, but Malagusto is now starting to look like, he's not marauding quite as much as he used to be and stuff. And, he had to play that kind of back three role today, when he replaced Rhys James, and he looks like not as good as Rhys James, but he looks like he can do that quite well. He wasn't just bombing forward all the time, so he does look versatile in a good way in that he can focus on his defending as well. So good performance from Malagusto today, and it'd be expensive to get another deputy for Rhys James of that kind of quality right now. Do you know what I mean? So unless we took a chance on a random youngster that no one knows of, then Malagusto for me is definitely going to be a great squad player for us in the next season. So we saw a few more subs towards the end of the game as well. Dario Isugo came on for Moises Caicedo. Reggie Walsh came on and Pedro Neto came off. Tyreek George came on again. And yeah, it's a bit of a shame. And João Hato came on. So I'll start with João Hato. João Hato just looks like Mark Cucurella Jr. Do you know what I mean? He's obviously got a little bit different about him physically and stuff, but the role he plays is very, very, very similar, and he does it almost just as well for a 19-year-old kid, man. That's absolutely nuts. Having two players of that quality, and I don't think João Hato is going to be annoyed that Mark Cucurella is likely to get more game time than him because of his age, but at the end of the day, I think it works really well that we've got these two players. João Hato looks like a wicked player, man. Super excited. Dario Isugo comes on for Moises Caicedo. He's good. He's a good player, man. I think he's definitely good. He's a very young player. He's got work to do, and he's not going to be pushing Moises Caicedo for that spot, is he? Let's be completely honest. So I think he's a good guy to bring on to kind of see out a game, and he'll be a good guy for cup games. And you know what I mean? If we have a Champions League group stage game against like a kind of a lower rated team, and we've got a big 6 Premier League game coming up, I think he could start in something like that as well. Dario Isugo, again, looks like a good squad player. Reggie Walsh, cool. I actually said it in my last video, man, because we saw 3 other, it was Raksaki and Anselmino and Antwi we saw in the last game, and I was like, I wonder if we'll see Reggie Walsh in the next game, and lo and behold, we did. Reggie Walsh looks cool, man. He's really, really young as well, and he looks like a kid. Do you know what I mean? It's weird, isn't it? Because you look at someone like João Hato, who's 18 or 19, sorry, I can't remember if he's 18 or 19, but he looks like Hedge. Do you know what I mean? He looks built and mature, and then you see like a Reggie Walsh, this like little spindly stick of a thing, but he looks cool, man. He looks like a good player. He seems to have a natural flair and technique. He's definitely going to have to grow into the Premier League, do you know what I mean? Because it is so difficult for players that don't have that physicality about them. But yeah, good cameo from Reggie Walsh, and I kind of expect him to be the new Tyreek George, if I'm being completely honest. I've got a feeling that one way or the other, Tyreek George is probably on his way out, and those minutes that Tyreek George got last season will probably now be taken by Reggie Walsh. And let's talk about Tyreek George, man. Again, he's just trying too hard, isn't he? I don't know what the trying hard is about. Is it, please keep me, or is it trying to, put himself in the shop window for other clubs to come in for him? I think, if anything, Tyreek George always looked at his best when he didn't look like he was trying too hard. Do you know what I mean? But we're seeing something recently, and it must be really stressful. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. For him to not know what's going on with his future and stuff. But he didn't play amazingly well today. Do you know what I mean? But he didn't get a huge amount of chance to either, if I'm completely honest. But at the end of the day, these kind of things are character building. If we keep him and he batters through it, he'll be a better player. If he goes out on loan and gets game time, he'll be a better player. If he gets bought by someone and is trusted by that team and gets minutes, then he'll become a better player. Tyreek George is going to turn into a good player one way or the other. But I hope he kind of learned something from today. And, he tried to do all them like crazy little step over things, didn't he, at one point? It's just like, what are you doing, man? Just keep it simple. Almost the same kind of criticism I had of Jamie Gittins, to be honest. But Jamie Gittins is a bit better at those kind of things than Tyreek George is at the moment. It's not normally what we see from George, is it? George normally keeps it simple, as far as I remember. But today he was definitely, and a little bit in the Leverkusen game as well, looks like he was trying to do a little bit too much. So that's kind of it, guys. AC Milan, did obviously get one goal back, and it was actually pretty deserved. And like I say, I've got to give AC Milan credit. They did really, really well to say they went down to 10 men in 17 minutes and became harder to play against. Luka Modric came on at half-time, and he changed things for them as well. He really, really injected some creativity, and that, eventually was kind of what led to them opening up for that other goal as well, because more stuff was being sprayed around the midfield, and one of their Fofanas got the goal. It was a good goal. There was not a lot we could do about it. I don't necessarily put it down to Rob Sanchez not playing well or whatever. So yeah, 4-1, it would have been nice to have kept another clean sheet, because then we would have had 3 clean sheets in the last 3 games, but it wasn't to be. Ultimately, what this does show us, we're ready to start the Premier League. The centre-back situation needs addressing, right? But apart from that, honestly, literally, apart from the centre-back situation and maybe the goalkeeper situation, but I actually think now the centre-back situation takes priority and precedence. We'll have to see what happens with Trevor Chalobah. Hopefully he's okay, because I'm really glad we're keeping him anyway. I was always an advocate. You can go back through any of my videos over the last 10 weeks since I've been making them, and any time I've talked about Trevor Chalobah, I've always said I want to keep this guy. So I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. I am really, really excited for the Premier League, but I'm also really excited for tonight. I will be featuring on another live stream panel hosted by the Blue Lounge on his YouTube channel tonight at 10 o'clock. So be there or be square, because I'm going to be featuring with, at least behind the dugouts, good friend of mine. Not sure who else is going to be on the panel, so that will be a nice surprise. Mo, obviously, from the Blue Lounge, is an absolute legend, and I can't wait to get on and talk Chelsea with him. Nice one, guys, if you stuck around to the end of the video. I hope you're all having a wicked day, and I hope to catch up with you very, very soon, maybe tonight. Take it easy. Peace.